Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 20 cursed movies.
You're tearing me apart!
For this list, we'll be looking at films with unimaginable production difficulties, unexplainable phenomena, and tragedies occurring either during production or after. We won't be including character-specific curses, like the alleged one associated with actors who played Superman.
God, look up there!
Have you heard of any other movie curses? Let us know in the comments. Number 20. The Man Who Killed Don Quixote. The word quixotic, used to describe someone whose ambitions outpace their abilities to an absurd degree, came from the legendary novel Don Quixote. It might also be used to describe director Terry Gilliam's attempt to get this film made.
Bow your head, Sancho. Bow your head.
The project went through development hell in the 90s, and while filming did start in 2000, it had to be shut down due to a plethora of issues. There were interruptions from a fighter plane, floods that ruined equipment, and health issues for star Jean Rochefort. This ill-fated production was captured in the documentary Lost in La Mancha.
Having been in this stuff before, I plowed on, and I don't have any energy to plow on at the moment.
However, Gilliam didn't give up on his dream, and after a long and very bumpy journey, The Man Who Killed Don Quixote was eventually completed and released.
Try to keep up with the plot.
There's a plot?
Number 19. Rebel Without a Cause. The three leads of Rebel Without a Cause are no longer with us. However, they very well still could be, if not for the horrible tragedies that prematurely cut their lives short.
Jim, you think the end of the world will come at nighttime?
At dawn.
First, star James Dean was killed in a traffic collision a few weeks before the film's release. Then, in 1976, co-star Sal Mineo was killed in a robbery. Finally, in 1981, Natalie Wood died due to drowning in a case that is still considered unsolved.
You live here, don't you?
Who lives?
Rebel Without a Cause is already an emotional viewing experience, but knowing about the awful circumstances of its actors' deaths make it all the more intense.
Boy, this is going to be one terrific day, so you better live it up. Because tomorrow you'll be nothing. See, and I almost was.
Number 18. The Innkeepers. Hotels make the perfect settings for horror movies. However, the creepiness isn't always contained to the story. This film, from acclaimed horror director Ty West, is about the Yankee Peddler Inn, a real-life historic hotel that is said to be haunted. West not only set the innkeepers at the Peddler Inn, he also filmed it there, and it reportedly wasn't the most relaxing production. Strange occurrences included lights going off without warning and phone calls from seemingly no one.
Why are you being so grouchy today?
I'm not. I'm just stressed. The sight is killing me.
Doors would also reportedly swing open with great force. Was this the ghosts telling them to stop their project, or helping them by adding as much tension as possible?
That's a good omen.
Become a WatchMojo channel member and get exclusive perks like Mojo emojis, loyalty badges, priority comment replies, and exclusive members-only content, including live list rankings with the Mojo staff and peeks behind the scenes. Don't miss out.
Number 17. The Possession. The year after The Innkeepers, another horror movie with a supposedly cursed production was released.
This weird behavior, there's something else going on here.
Yeah.
The Possession is inspired by the Dybbuk box, a supposedly haunted wine cabinet, but it seems there may have been some unfriendly forces at play during production as well. Lights reportedly blew up during production, and less than a week after shooting wrapped, an unexplained fire in a storage house ruined all of the props. Star Jeffrey Dean Morgan, a self-admitted skeptic, said even he was wary of the box in question and what havoc it could potentially wreak.
Benevolent and,
Benevolent and
evil. Like demons.
Though the person who sold the Dybbuk box eventually admitted to making up its supernatural backstory, these inexplicable incidences are still chilling to consider.
Daddy, you scared me.
Number 16. Waterworld. Waterset films, even incredibly successful ones like Jaws and Titanic, can undergo extremely difficult productions. Bad pre-release buzz led this Kevin Costner action movie to being deemed a flop before its release due to its then record high budget.
That made a hole.
However, unlike Titanic, it didn't exactly bring in massive box office revenue. It also underwent a particularly rough production process.
It doesn't exist!
Well, how can you be so sure?
Because I've sailed farther than most have dreamed.
Much of it was actually shot in the Pacific Ocean, and a hurricane destroyed the elaborate set. Multiple actors nearly died during filming, including Costner. Unsurprisingly, many crew members, including director Kevin Reynolds, quit. For multiple reasons, nobody was clamoring to make a Waterworld 2.
Dry land is not just our destination, but it is our destiny!
Number 15. Stalker. Russian director Andrei Tarkovsky's Stalker is one of the most thought-provoking sci-fi films ever made.
Эксперименты, факты, истина в последней инстанции. Фактов вообще не бывает, а уж здесь и подавно.
But during production, the cast and crew might have just been thinking about whether or not it would actually see completion. The film had to be reshot twice, with different cinematographers.
Все горело светло, только этого мало.
The extended shoot also took place at abandoned hydropower plants. Deaths of multiple production members, including Tarkovsky, are attributed to toxic chemicals in the area. Though it took some time for it to achieve recognition as such, Stalker is now widely regarded as a cinematic masterpiece. Nonetheless, it's still a shame that getting it made was such an ordeal, with potentially fatal consequences.
Черствость и сила – спутники смерти.
Number 14. Fitzcarraldo. Director Werner Herzog and actor Klaus Kinski made 5 films together, all of which reportedly had productions marked by conflict between the filmmaker and his unpredictable star.
That slope may look insignificant, but it's gonna be our destiny.
Their 4th collaboration, Fitzcarraldo, was no exception. Originally, Kinski wasn't involved. The film was supposed to star Jason Robards, but during filming, he came down with dysentery. In addition to Kinski's erratic behavior, the film was also beset by accidents. The plot concerns an attempt to move a massive steamship, and an actual 320-ton vessel was moved.
Pull harder! Try it again!
Tragically, multiple indigenous extras were injured or killed during filming, and one crew member had to amputate his own foot after a snake bite. Making this film might have never been easy, but it didn't need to be this difficult either.
I must stop my ship.
Number 13. Maximum Overdrive. There have been many great films based on stories by Stephen King, but the horror master's first and so far only time in the director's chair is widely regarded as a disaster, including by the king himself.
What happened?
if I know, Bubba. If I know.
Adapted from his short story, Trucks, horror comedy Maximum Overdrive apparently caused maximum headaches during production. There were delays due to Hurricane Gloria. It also seems safety in general was severely lacking.
We made you! We made you!
The cinematographer lost an eye due to a lawnmower-related injury, and actress Laura Harrington is quoted as saying, "You always felt like someone was going to die on this set." King also admitted to being decidedly not sober during filming, and it's hard to imagine anyone being in their right mind when making such a misguided movie.
Maybe tomorrow it'll be our world again.
I don't know. Was it ever?
Number 12. Return to Babylon. If you're fascinated by the silent movie era, you might have seen this 2013 film, which is made in the style of movies from the 20s. But what may have seemed like a tribute to a bygone era perhaps had more sinister things going on. While filming, those working on the film reported some unsettling experiences during production. For instance, actress Jennifer Tilly said she felt like she was being bothered by invisible entities. Viewing the movie can also be a haunting experience, as there are images that look like faces and other body parts morphing without the use of special effects. The homes of actual silent film stars were used for filming. Maybe they were trying to offer creative input from beyond the grave. Number 11. Incubus. Prior to his leading role on Star Trek, William Shatner headlined this horror film, distinct for all the dialogue being in the Esperanto language.
Czułeś to sygnał?
Takiej signifies.
But while Shatner went on to great fame, other cast members experienced much grimmer fates. Actor Milos Miloš, who played the titular demon, killed Mickey Rooney's estranged wife, Barbara Ann Thomason, stage name Carolyn Mitchell, who he was seeing at the time, before taking his own life. Actress Ann Atmar also took her own life, less than 2 weeks before the film's premiere.
Marco, Ricardo nie wyzarzoj. Lipincy sami. Kielny expected sami.
And the teenage daughter of the actress, Eloise Hartz, was brutally killed 2 years later. As with other films on this list, the eerie occurrences surrounding this film might make it too difficult to watch. Number 10. The Wizard of Oz. Okay, let's address the elephant in the room. The Wizard of Oz is not considered cursed because an actor's death was supposedly caught on screen.
If ever a wizard was, the Wizard of Oz is one because.
That's just a famous urban legend. What is true, however, is that there were enough on-set accidents to lend the Wizard of Oz its own cursed reputation. For starters, actors Buddy Ebsen and Jack Haley both suffered severe reactions to the makeup for the Tin Man, while Margaret Hamilton, aka the Wicked Witch of the West, endured life-threatening burns during her big disappearing act early on in the film. Not even poor little Toto was safe, as an on-set trainer reported that one of the witch's foot soldiers accidentally stepped on the dog during a take.
Number 9. The Passion of the Christ.
Papa, kuulet kehu. Enkä hel. Kastigate.
Getting struck by lightning is never a good sign, but what if you also happen to be portraying Jesus Christ in one of the most controversial movies of the year? This indeed happened to Jim Caviezel on the set of Passion of the Christ, as well as the assistant director on the film who got zapped twice. Then there were the reported accidents associated with the scourging and crucifixion of Christ, which saw Caviezel get accidentally whipped for real by a co-star, endure a dislocating shoulder from carrying the cross, a lung infection from the weather, and massive migraine headaches from the bloody eye makeup. We're not saying that Caviezel and crew were cursed, but we might reconsider doing any more shoots out in the rain for an upcoming sequel.
Glala, Tenkol, Hand, Khalil,
Number 8. The Crow.
The Lee family curse was nothing new when the Crow star Brandon Lee tragically died during filming as a result of an improperly loaded gun.
I felt how awful goodness. I felt how awful goodness.
Rumors had already surrounded the death of Lee's father Bruce years before, with some claiming that his demise at the young age of 32 was a result of a beef with Chinese organized crime families. Sadly, Brandon's on-set accident wasn't the only mishap to happen on the Crow's set, as a crew member was horribly electrocuted and rushed to the hospital after coming into contact with power lines. Although we'll never know what Brandon Lee could have achieved after his career-defining appearance in The Crow, his silver screen legacy is at least cemented alongside his father's for all time.
Number 7. The Omen.
It's not difficult to imagine the sort of heebie-jeebies that filmmakers probably experienced shooting The Omen back in the mid-70s.
Look at me, Damien. It's all for you.
After all, it was Satan's big moment in the sun. After the success of Rosemary's Baby and The Exorcist made everyone terrified of what was lurking in the dark.
Keep away. The soul is mine.
Some very real incidents surrounded production on The Omen, however, from the pre-production death of Gregory Peck's son to some serious airline issues, like lightning strikes to the fatal crash of a small plane carrying the film crew.
Finally, special effects lead John Richardson, who was responsible for the film's infamous beheading scene, was involved in a tragic car accident after shooting The Omen, where his passenger, assistant, and girlfriend Liz Moore suffered the same grisly fate.
The poem when the Jews returned to Zion. And there was something about a comet.
Yes, that's here too. A shower of stars and the rise of the Roman Empire. Well, these are supposed to be the events that signaled the birth of the Antichrist. The devil's child.
Number 6. Apocalypse Now.
The next movie on our list is A Case of Time being the great equalizer.
Saigon. Shit. I'm still only in Saigon.
That's because nearly everyone making Apocalypse Now seemed almost certain that their time in the jungle was cursed. So troubled and dangerous was this film's production.
Although Francis Ford Coppola's war epic is now considered one of the greatest cinematic achievements ever, the director allegedly contemplated taking his own life over thoughts of his personal financial ruin.
It's impossible through words to describe what is necessary to those who do not know what horror means.
Natural disasters destroyed pricey sets. Marlon Brando showed up unprepared and overweight for his role, while Martin Sheen even suffered a freaking heart attack during his time on set. Sure, it's all gravy now, but we're guessing that being in the thick of Apocalypse Now was anything but fun.
Even the jungle wanted him dead. And that's who he really took his orders from anyway.
Number 5. Twilight Zone, the movie.
You unlock this door with a key of imagination. Beyond it is another dimension. A dimension of sound. A dimension of sight. A dimension of mind.
On-set accidents are never easy to discuss, but they're made even more tragic when they have to do with young children. Unfortunately, one infamous stunt gone wrong would go on to define this otherwise highly anticipated 1983 blockbuster, The Twilight Zone, the movie.
Told you guys we shouldn't have shot Lieutenant Niedermeyer.
The incident occurred during director John Landis' segment where actor Vic Morrow and 2 child actors were killed when a helicopter sequence went horribly wrong. Both of the children were paid under the table and hired without the required permits for shooting at night with minors. But the tragedy did have a silver lining. It prevented the curse of gross negligence from afflicting more films in its wake, as more shoots were required to have risk management on set to prevent these accidents in the future.
It is sometimes said that where there is no hope, there is no life. Case in point, the residents of Sunnyvale Rest Home, where hope is just a memory.
Number 4. The Conqueror.
I share your taste in women, Targetai, but not in blood. Farewell, Tartar woman.
Speaking of negligence, 1956's The Conqueror might be the most cursed movie of all time, at least when it comes to absolute stupidity. Ignoring for a moment that John Wayne was cast to play, of all people, Genghis Khan.
Know this, woman.
I take you for a wife.
The Conqueror was also inexplicably shot on land that was formerly the site of U.S. nuclear bomb tests, meaning that there were extremely high levels of fallout present. What's worse, producer and noted eccentric Howard Hughes had tons of the contaminated dirt shipped stateside for reshoots. The results weren't immediate, but they were widespread and deadly, with nearly half the film's cast and crew ultimately contracting cancer. There are even some reports of relatives and children contracting the disease some decades after visiting the location with their parents.
Come, my mother, work your healing on this.
Would that I could cure the madness that possesses you.
Number 3. Rosemary's Baby.
We've already mentioned the devil earlier in this list, but did Old Nick himself actually curse the production of Rosemary's Baby?
His power is stronger than stronger. His might shall last longer than longer.
Yes, Satan!
No!
There's definitely some evidence to that, starting with the film's composer Christoph Komeda, who suffered a bad fall and died before seeing the film's release. Producer William Castle suffered from kidney stones not long after Rosemary's Baby hit screens. But it's writer-director Roman Polanski whose personal reckoning was most infamous.
This is no dream. This is really happening.
The Hollywood pariah's wife Sharon Tate would become the most high-profile victim of the Manson family during their killing spree in August of 1969, serving as the unfortunate face of madness and murder during the Summer of Love.
Maybe all this is coincidence, but one thing is for sure. They have a coven and they want my baby.
Number 2. The Exorcist.
Damien!
Amen.
God, defender of the human race! Oh, look down in pity!
We'll probably never again see the sort of hysterical reactions The Exorcist enjoyed when it first hit theaters back in 1973. The movie continues to be cited as a gold standard for the horror genre, however, bringing with it rumors of a supposed curse that swirled around production, cast, and crew. Looking for specifics? Take your pick. From a fire that destroyed nearly every set except for Regan McNeil's bedroom, on-set injuries suffered by stars Linda Blair and Ellen Burstyn, and a real-life murder charge in 1979 for actor Paul Bateson, who played a radiological technologist in the film. The Exorcist is full of creepy coincidences. Then again, when you're dealing with the devil, you take your chances playing with fire.
The power of Christ compels you! The power of Christ compels you!
Number 1. The original Poltergeist trilogy.
Did the use of real human skeletons during the filming of 1982's Poltergeist result in a curse that would follow the franchise and those involved with it to the bitter end? We're not sure, but what's certain is that all 3 films from the original trilogy featured their fair share of tragedy. Dominique Dunn was murdered by her boyfriend after appearing in the first film, while young Heather O'Rourke, who played Carol Ann, died from complications following an undiagnosed bowel obstruction some years later. Julian Beck's horrific preacher, Reverend Cain, also died from stomach cancer after filming and before the release of the 1986 sequel, Poltergeist 2: The Other Side, adding further fuel to the conspiracy fire that continues to follow the Poltergeist franchise to this day.
Are you lost, sweetheart? Are you afraid, honey? Well, why don't you come with me? All right. I'll sing you a song.